Welcome to Japan Seikatsu. I'm Ian, and today I'm excited to share 4 key tips to help make your working relationship with your JTE, your Japanese teacher of English, a success. And these tips go beyond just the JET program. If you're teaching English overseas in general, I think you'll find these very helpful for developing positive relationships with your colleagues. And if you work in general, these tips will also largely be helpful to you. So please be sure to stay tuned. And at the very end, I include an answer to a viewer question, which is, should I correct my JTE when I see them making a mistake? So without further ado, let's get started. Co-teaching brings with it its own challenges, as you can imagine, but when done correctly, it can, in my view, better serve the students because you have 2 pairs of hands, 2 brains, and sometimes in this instance, 1 plus 1 equals 4, not 2, because when you've got the chemistry going and the teachers understand one another, it can be really positive for the students. So what can you do to develop that positive relationship? First is to build rapport with your JTE. Find out who they are, what makes them tick. You know, you do have a lot in common when you think about it. You both are interested in foreign cultures, in a foreign language, in teaching. So you have a strong foundation of a lot of shared interest, but what makes them tick? What are their hobbies? You know, find out what parts of the job they like and maybe what parts of the job they don't like. And hint, that's a opportunity for you to maybe support. So if they're not as excited about grading papers or checking the English spelling, well, maybe that's something that you can help support. But fundamentally, building this rapport of you getting to know the JTE and the JTE getting to know you will build the foundation of trust, which is the core pillar of any successful relationship. Tip number 2 is very simple, but not always easy, and that is to do 20% more than is asked of you. So if you are expected to leave at 4, well, maybe you stay 20% later. If you're asked to do a project, give 20% more. I think you'll find, especially in Japan, that going the extra mile will be very much appreciated by your colleagues, and it will be recognized. You know, you're making the job of the JTE that much easier. And as you likely know, a lot of JTEs are already overworked in Japan. They have bukatsu duties, they're teaching many classes, and so do what you can to lighten the load, and it will bear fruit in a positive way for your relationship. Number 3 is to make sure that you have healthy communication, and that means frequent touch points. So one of the biggest problems in the work environment is that you have a gap between reality and expectations. And anytime that gap exists, it creates friction. And if you can get precise communication, effective communication, you can really close that gap between reality and expectations. This is part of helping to manage expectations, and you'll find that that is very important in Japan. They don't like surprises out of left field. The Wild West approach is not recommended. So you want to communicate in advance. For example, if you're not going to be able to be in school one day, let them know well in advance. If you want to do a special class on, maybe it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, well, let your JTE know well in advance and provide a lot of details. It's a detail-focused culture. So maybe you have a lesson plan and details on what you're going to teach and how you plan to teach that, and ask for feedback. So be very cognizant of the importance of communication. And one other point that is definitely true in Japan, and I think many cultures, is that a lot of communication happens outside of the official channels, outside of that official meeting. On the JET program, but also in Japanese culture in general, they will have dinners called enkais or nomikais with colleagues, where after work everybody goes out to dinner It's usually a few hours, and a lot of important communication happens there. It's important to be perceived as a team player, and a lot of times issues that are maybe bubbling under the surface aren't really brought to the surface until the nomikai. And if you do like drinking, there is often drinking at these events. If you don't like drinking, my experience in the JET program was that there was no pressure to drink, so you don't need to drink. But I would consider all of the avenues where you can improve communication. That could be bukatsu, it could be at the nomikai, it could be just a casual conversation you're having with your JTE in the teacher's lounge. Number 4 is make sure that you're adding value. And remember, there are areas where you are bringing a lot to the table. You are a native English speaker. That is a big asset and a rarity in Japan. Often you're younger and you've got a lot of digital savvy, most likely, even if you think you don't. I found that very often in the JET program, the ALTs were kind of like the informal IT department. And so think about some of the value adds that you're bringing to the table. Your deep cultural understanding of your home country is another one. And make sure that you're bringing those forward. You're on this program to bring a differentiated perspective, an extra pair of hands, an extra mind. So make sure that you're bringing that to the table. As a final bonus, a great question from the Japan Seikatsu community, which is, should I correct my JTE if they make a mistake? Well, first, I would verify 100% that a mistake has been made. So I'm thinking back to when I was on the JET program. I was educated in American English. I've now lived in the UK. And sometimes it's not always black or white. It's gray. What maybe is appropriate in the UK or New Zealand is not appropriate in the United States. So make sure that a clear mistake has been made. If a mistake has been made, how big of a mistake is this? Is this something that's extremely minor and it's not really important? Well, maybe then just forget about it, right? I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the JTE. They are teaching a foreign language that's not their native tongue. It's a difficult job. Anybody's going to make mistakes. Now imagine if you've got somebody on your shoulder that's constantly harping on you every time you make a mistake. You're going to be terrified, and you're probably going to make even more mistakes. So if it's not that important, if it's not that big of a deal, we all make mistakes, I would forget about it. Now if you think it's quite, it is a mistake and it's meaningful to the education of the students, I would speak with the JTE, not in front of the students, but when you have a one-on-one moment, and just casually let them know, I think in the class today, when we were teaching this, this may have been inaccurate, or this may have been a misspelling, and give your JTE a moment to onboard that so that they can correct it moving forward. I do think, as a principal, the JTEs do want to know if they're teaching something that's not accurate, right? They want to make sure that they're giving accurate information to the students. So this is a good thing to raise. But on that note, maybe ask them what's their preference. If they make a mistake in the future, how would they like you to raise that with them? Some of them may be fine with, just flag it to me in front of the students, I don't mind. Or some of them may say, let's discuss it after class. Well, I hope that was helpful. Thank you for the question. As always, please put your comments or questions down below. I also have a link to a playlist of JET program related content that I think you'll find valuable. And as always, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join our growing community at Japan Seikatsu. Thank you.